Brassfacts here. Today, 556 to 1,000 yards. I'm quite lucky to live in an area where I can shoot as far as I want, whenever I want. Yet, I'm generally only shooting to about 600 yards, maybe 700 yards. But honestly, I really felt like I could do more. So while I consider that previous stuff more practical shooting, I really wanted to make that push to 1,000 yards. And I might as well bring you along for my journey, tell you what worked for me, what didn't work for me, and more. Is this high-speed Chris Kyle shit? No, not at all. I'm sure there are many, and many of them will likely speak up in the comment section, that are far more well-versed in this type of shooting than I am. This is more of a perspective of, hey, I wanted to do a thing, and I spent about 3 range sessions setting up for it, 1 for zeroing and chronoing, 1 for confirming out to about 600 yards, a second confirming from 700 to 1,000 yards, and then the 1,000-yard day. The first thing I did right out of the gate was I needed to move on from FMJ, right? This was my typical long-range shooting caliber because that's what all my guns were zeroed for. Honestly, you could be surprised what you can accomplish with FMJ. You can typically get out to about 450 yards, at least for me, with a near 100% confident hit rates. You've seen I've done 11.5s out to 600, and this is all on a reduced IPSC size target because that's what I own. Even out to 600, I'm fairly confident as long as there isn't nasty-ass wind or shifting wind, and I can expect to get hits out there. Ultimately, though, FMJ is just also a great learning tool, as I can shoot a lot more, and I can really notice the effects of bad wind calls, and I can experiment with what works and what doesn't without necessarily breaking the bank as much. I also can really hone in on parallax-induced misses, which was a big issue for me, right? I have bad consistency on my head placement, which can often result in pretty bad misses. Anyways, I just wanted to stick with FMJ for quite some time to ensure I wasn't going to use OTM as a crutch, which I see happen a lot. But finally, ultimately, I did need to switch to something a little more accurate than FMJ. So I went ahead, sold a kidney, grabbed some Norma 77 grain OTM, which aren't even that expensive in the grand scheme of Match King style ammo, about 80 cents a round, and off to the races we go. In theory, this gives me the needed accuracy and weights to really punch out there. Is it the perfect round for this? Honestly, no, but neither is my rifle. Speaking of which, this setup isn't really a super precision sniper setup, mostly more of an interpretation of what I think an SPR should be for quote-unquote practical usage, where the rifle not only needs to perform as a long-range platform, but still be able to flex into general rifle work, so run-and-gun style stuff. Because the teams I run in, the sizes, are quite small, and having a dedicated DM doesn't really work out. So I keep the weight down by having a near pencil weight barrel, not stainless precision, more of a chrome-lined Rainier Arms barrel from whatever ago. The scope is certainly capable to get out to 1,000, as you'll see, but it's also fairly light on magnification, 10x only, because I, once again, want this to be a run-and-gun style rifle, and that 2.5x low end gives me that. The 10x was adequate, but it kind of fell short on more precise call misses, right? Your X off, where exactly you missed on the target, and more. It also struggled in low light conditions, but ultimately got the job done. I have a video where I get heavily into depth on my thoughts on the setup linked right up here. Regardless, end result, I have a 1 MOA gun on roughly 5 to 6 shot groups, with the 4 shot groups being significantly smaller, about 3/4 of an MOA. I didn't measure that much, nor did I care that much. Oh, get 20 round PMags, they're mission critical for this kind of stuff. Off to day 1, you're going to need to ascertain your velocity. Don't guess it, don't read it off the side of the box. Probably just use a chronograph, it's the easiest way to do it. I used 10 round averages and plugged it in with temperature. Punch all this bullshit into something like a ballistic calculator like Straylock. Tell it what round you're using. Most of the time there is a record of the round types and the extra data like G1 or G7 profiles, the bullet length, and more. Once again, I'm by no means an expert, but in my experience, these calculators are really good out to about 600 yards or so, but past which I do begin to notice a semi-linear offset. I'm not really going to get into flight regimes and all that. Ultimately for me, what I found worked easiest was just to confirm it. Start at 600, go to 650, write down what you actually needed to do compared to what the calculator said, and just bump out all the way to your desired range, in this case 1,000 yards. The calculator was fairly close, it was just a hair off, anywhere from 0.1 mils to about 0.5 mils. Your results may vary. Coming up on 1,000 yards, you'll notice one of your biggest hurdles. Wind. Oh no, it's coming!
that's not a good sign for the wind profile.
It's really brutal. You can get a lot of factors that come together to give you a good picture. You can use a kestrel type thing. You can put flyers downrange, right? Because the wind won't be consistent from you to the target. We never ended up doing this because we're stupid and we tried to use sagebrush movement, which did not work out. You can also do some homework and learn how to read mirages and then put it into practice. All this together can give you a rough picture of what the wind probably is. But ultimately, wind at 1,000 yards is very different than wind at 600. At 600, you can put a rough guesstimate in, and you're probably going to get a hit. But at 1,000 yards, you got to nail it. And a lot of times, we didn't nail it. Combined with the fact that I'm basically shooting a 1 MOA gun at a 10-inch target, the margin for error is already very tight, we noticed. And potentially, I could have done more by having a more accurate weapon system. The short of it is, you gotta learn by doing, and we had good and bad days leading up to the 1,000-yard shoot in terms of calling the wind properly. But we got better and better and better, and it ended up working out. One weird thing I picked up over these, not just these couple range sessions, but all of my long-range shooting, you gotta limit your range sessions when you're locked in at a range distance. It's sort of tempted to drop 40 rounds and achieve hits through volume, but it quickly becomes a scenario where you're burning money to achieve hits and you're not really learning anything. Because once you have your calculations locked in, you know you have the right hold, which you should at this point, chances are it's actually you that's the weak link. You have a bad wind call, very likely, but you also might be implying poor fundamentals, you're jittery as shit, bad trigger, impatient, bad posture, probably all of the above, and a big one for me, bad head placement. I like to sink my head in during shot springs, and that leads to parallax shift and obviously a miss. Sometimes it's just a good idea to reset after several misses and come back at it again just in a little bit, or just move on to something else and go sacrifice a virgin in a volcano and come back at a different day. Whatever works. Anyways, that's about that. Let's get to it. It's hard to tell on camera when we get misses because the wind and also the plate doesn't move, so we're also having trouble seeing impacts. It only pinged once, but we observed more hits when we went down range and looked at the freshly painted target. Roughly speaking, we had 2 hits and 5 shots, at least for me. I had an initial shooting bit before this, full disclosure, where I missed a lot of shots, about 10 rounds, but I was trying to fly a drone and I didn't really have time to lock in any wind or whatever. I was basically just guesstimating it because I was trying to fly the drone, which had about 1 minute of battery life left, and then it crash landed it nearby. So I just reset and did it again and really took my time, and that's the string you'll see on camera. Also, much to our dismay and delight, we had someone with us and he's like, fuck it, I'll give it a go with my 308. I got some Tula, let's do it. He wasn't zeroed, nor did he have data on this. We walked him in and got a hit on the 4th shot, which was kind of funny and depressing. Anyways, that's about that. Don't take any of this too seriously. I am not a great shooter. In fact, most of you are probably better at this. If you want more info, probably go watch 9-hole reviews or something like that. This is just my experience after 3 to 4 range sessions building up from 600 to 1,000 yards, and perhaps it'll show you that if a nugget like me can do it, you can do it too. Anyways, here's the footage.
Let's call it 10 for fun.
So mine says
Oh shit. I'll come in for 3. Alright. You want a spot? Should I hold 3? Dude, I'm gonna hold 4. On target.
which one, left or right?
Right.
Okay, I get it. I got no splash.
Well, that's maybe all I got. Can I go again? Oh, I see it. That was really close. I think that first hit was a splash, right?
So the first splash was a bit. Dude, that was a solid ding. Whoa, okay, you're like 6 mils low.
The fact that he's even on target.
Good, that was still about 2.5 mils.
Light, we know.
Yeah. It is still good though.
That was a hit. You're it?
What was that, 4 shot?
Fourth
Yeah.
shot, yeah.
So you're not even zeroed, and we got Tula on in 4 shots.
Yeah.
I would.